A warm welcome for those attending and also our viewers watching live Council YouTube channel, Hillingdon, London. This is a meeting of the Executive Scrutiny Committee and my name is Councillor Henry Higgins and I am the chairman of this meeting. The key role of the committee is to scrutinise and review decisions made earlier this evening by the Cabinet before they are implemented. This is a cross-party committee comprised by elected councillors, none of which are on the Cabinet. We are also have a co-opted representative attending who speaks on education matters related. As a committee, we do not make any decisions, but we can ask Cabinet or Cabinet members to recognise the decision they have taken. Details of business to be considered today is shown on the agenda, copies of which are available in the room and also accessible on YouTube underneath the live broadcast. A polite reminder to councillors speaking today that your voice will only be audible online if the microphone is switched on. Going around the table tonight, let me introduce the councillors. On my right, I have Councillor Arnold, Councillor Bridges, Councillor Dennis, and my Vice Chairman, Councillor Riley. On the left, we have Councillor Price, Councillor Money, and the Labour lead, Councillor Curling. And our adopted member is Mr. Tony Little at the bottom of the table there. So welcome all, and for this first televised session. We'll start with the standard agenda items as usual, which are apologies. Mark, please.
Chairman, all members are present.
And sorry, I should also introduce my clerk, which is Mark Braddock next to me. Do we have anybody got any matters of interest? Any matters coming for us? No. Okay. There's no public. I won't. Obviously, everything that's in part one will be in front of the cameras, but part two, the camera will be switched off, and we will go on from there. We had a sort of a discussion about this before. Is that we do tend to ask questions in this committee, and I think it's only fair that that obviously if there's too much information is needed that we don't have to hand, we can find further information which comes back to us. And I did agree with everybody around the table last time we had this committee that I would read out what those responses are. I know that all members have received them by email, but I think that'd be quite a nice thing for people watching and they're watching it on a regular basis to find out what was going on. So I'll go on to those first. Yeah, and before, I suppose sorry, Mark, you're absolutely right. The first thing is minutes. Did we agree that those from last week? Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Right, let me just find those questions. One of the questions was the new sports and leisure facility in West Drayton. Officers advised that it should be their proposed change in service provision and impact assessment will be completed. Okay. That was about basically asking about the air quality action plan on that facility. The air quality action plan, there was another question on that. The current air quality monitoring network has been in place for a number of years. Revisions can be considered when new information is made available. The results help informed where pollution levels are the highest and where they are the lowest, whether the trends are up, down or static. Depending upon locations, they could be used to inform whether actions to improve air quality have been successful or whether more action is required. With the update GLA pollution model, the introduction of air quality focus areas and the new air quality action plan for 2019-2014, there is a requirement to ensure that the monitoring is in a correct location with this in mind. The opportunity has been taken to commission an independent review and monitoring access to the borough. This information below details the current monitoring and the recommendations for the changes and the monitoring network across the borough. And the rest of it is sort of basically fills in the gaps there. Okay, so those are the two questions that were last time. Now we go back to the agenda, which is cabinet agenda. So Obviously, we'll run through item 5 and item 8, so Tony can be here for the table. So we do item 5 first, which is a review of the Corporate Services, Commerce and Community Policy Overview Committee, combating homophobic, biphobic and transphobic bullying in young people in Hillingdon. I was on this committee first time round, as many of us around the table were. The summary is to receive the committee's review into combating homophobic, biphobic, transphobic bullying in young people in Hillingdon, with to give consideration to recommendations of the reviews. This review was initiated under the previous 2017-2018 Corporate Services Partnership Overview Policy Committee. The new 2018-19 Corporate Service, Commerce and Communities POC has fully reviewed the report and recommendations now present to them under Cabinet consideration. This review follows the action from the 2013 review by the Council in the same matter. There is 2 recommendations from the Cabinet. Welcomes the committee's findings from their review into combating homophobic, biphobic, transphobic bullying of young people in Hillingdon, and endorsing the following recommendations from the committee for implementation by officers in consultation with the sign-off where is required by the leader and the council and the cabinet member. Has anybody got anything on this? I think it's a good report. Yes, Councillor Rice.
Thank you, Chairman. I think this is a great report. I'm very pleased that after perhaps about 47 or so years of Pride London that we'll finally be flying the flag in just 2 weeks' time. Does the council own a Pride flag?
Yeah, well, we had an old one and we're purchasing a new one. We used to have one before, I remember we put it up.
To go on the forecourt.
Yeah, it's a forecourt one, so it's a bit bigger than what we used to have. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. I welcome the recommendations of the committee and their endorsement by the Cabinet, but I would like to ask in relation to recommendation 4 whether we can be given assurances that any material supplied by Stonewall will be age appropriate and will pay due regard to the sensitivity that some religious communities have in relation to these issues.
It'll be up to the individual schools whether they want to take the information or not. Okay.
So the schools get to make the decisions.
Councillor Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'd like to praise the report. I found it very interesting, and one of the things I found most interesting about it, it definitely seemed to be one of those issues that there were some significant issues, but hadn't, I think maybe in some of the reaction from the schools, they weren't completely clear how best to deal with it. So the fact that the schools that the committee spoken to seem to be very pleased that the council can help them with what's going on and providing materials is very positive. I suppose my one sort of question is, going forward, how will the situation be monitored? Because I would hope that the recommendations obviously will improve the situation. That'll be absolutely fantastic. But obviously the report, the evidence gathered in 2013 was very useful. So it's just sort of wondering in terms of what sort of monitoring the council does on this and how we can make sure that the good recommendations here are making the positive difference that they're intended to.
Okay. Yeah, I believe it's going to be monitored by the POC anyway, so it'll be reviewed and re-reviewed again at a later date. So that's the thing. Anybody anything else? No? Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 8. It's a bit of a jump, I'm afraid. Right, Council Budget 2018 to 19, review of capital outturn. Purpose of the report, this report to provide the Council financial position of performance in 2018-19 review budgets and capital programme. An underspend of 2.249 is reported against 2018-19 general fund revenue budgets as of outturn of 2019, representing an improvement of 1.192k from the position reported to Cabinet in month 11. This is primarily relates to the release of uncommitted general contingency and priority growth monies and outturn. The latest position on other funds and the capital programme are detailed within the body of this report, with continuing pressures on high need placements of school budget feeding through to 8.492 cumulative deficit and ring-fence dedicated schools grants account. This represents an advanced movement of 474k from previously reported on position month 11. We have a number of recommendations. I'm going to run through these as quick as I can, so please forgive me. And forgive me, Councillor Prince, rather than I called you Price, so I really apologise for that. I just thought I'd make sure I put that right. Number one, note that the budget position of March 2019 outturn, including the in-year release of development and risk contingency funds into directly operating budgets as outlined in Table 5. 2, to provide allocation of the following sums of outturn surplus: 500k funding for Heathrow expansion, 776 for underspent priority growth funds earmarked for priority growth initiatives for 2019-20. 3, note the capital receipts and funds of service and transformation as set out in Appendix C, not D. Note that the Treasury Management update in March 2019 outturn is in Appendix F. 5, continue to delegate authority up to the next Cabinet meeting for the Chief Executive to provide and consultancy and agency assignments of 50k with the final sign-off of any assignments made by the Leader of the Council. Cabinet are also asked to note that consultancy and agency assignments over 50k approved under delegated authority between April 18th and 20th of June. Cabinet meeting details are in Appendix G. 6, provide the release of the following sums of development risk contingency to deputy operating budgets 2018-19 waste disposal. Again, the figure was 691, not 772. B, demographic growth looked after children 403k. C, demographic growth children with disabilities 367k. SEN transport 259. E, demographic growth of adult social care 988. 7, approve the rephasing of 36 million 213k to general fund capital expenditure financing budgets in the future years set out in Tables 1 and 2 of the report. Approves the rephasing of 8302k 18-19 HAR capital expenditure. 8, rephasing of 36465 to 1920 general fund original capital expenditure and finance budgets of the future years. 9, accepts additional special provisions fund a capital grant of 1.356k from the Department of Education, except 4k grant from Greater London Authority for Greener City Fund Community Scheme. 11, accepts additional Transport for London 49k for cycle training. 12, approve acceptance of gift funding in relation to planning performance agreements on Tavistock Works 20k, Crown Trading Estate Clayton Road, Hayes 50k, Fairview Trading Estate, Clayton Road, Hayes 50k, Xerox Bridge House, Uxbridge 43k. 13, agreed that Meals on Wheels service be adjusted. Any new members will be joiners will be charged £5.25. Approve the changes to leisure facility fees and charges in Appendix H. 15, agree that the council donates 6.7k to the Mayor's charity, which comes up to a grand total of 96k. So that's that done. Now, does anybody have any questions? Yes, Councillor Prince.
On recommendation 13 regarding Meals on Wheels, admittedly I don't know a lot about Meals on Wheels, and it says new clients be charged £5.25, but won't impact current users. What do current users pay?
I can find that out for you. I think it's around £4 something, but I'm not 100% sure. So.
And is there a rationale for why the change?
I suppose it says it in the 13. If you read in the full recommendation on page 12, agree transition of Meals and Wheels services cost neutral model through adopting a full charge model for all new services used directly accessing the service provided by Apito will affect from the 1st of July. So it's obviously things have gone up, costs. So
Sorry.
Trying to. It's probably just that's what it's costing them now. So.
Of course, which I understand. It's just I guess I don't understand why this then doesn't impact current users and why the difference between.
Because we have as a council, we usually have a commitment to our elderly. So for us, it's important that no one's affected. It's only newcomers that are affected, so they know no one will change. It doesn't. We'll find it in the funds to pay for it, so it doesn't affect current users. It just obviously the new people when they come on board, that's what the charge will be. Okay. Councillor Money.
On that, I believe that the council subsidised the old users. So as they leave, the subsidisation is no longer there. Is that correct? So the new users will be charged full price for what Apito are charging us.
Well, I think it's still subsidised, but I'll ask that question.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Little.
I have 3 questions, Chairman. Okay. The first one is on page 143 in relation to recommendation 9. The extra capital that's coming in for special needs education, will all of that be going to special schools or will it be going to other schools as well? And it says that parents are being involved and carers as well as education providers. I'm on page 143, the final paragraph, recommendation 9, relating to the 1.356 million that's going to special education needs, capital money. And I wanted to know whether all of that is going to special schools or whether it's going to a wider range of schools.
Sorry, it was in more detail further in the report. I'm just trying to. I remember reading it.
If so, I missed that then, Chairman.
Yes, Councillor.
So it actually says in the report, plans for utilising this funding are being developed in consultation with parents and carers. I don't think it can be clearer than that.
Well, it says parents, carers and education providers, and I'm asking about the education providers concerned.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm sure I need the budget somewhere. But I'll find out for you. I would have thought it'd be right across. Hang on. No, I can't put my finger on it. Mark, we'll ask that question for you. It's fine. Your second question?
My second question relates to page 165.
Yeah.
I'll get there myself. Again, down the bottom of the page, it talks about the overspend on alternative provision of £278,000. Is this in relation to pupils who've been excluded from ordinary schools, and does this suggest an increase, or does it relate to a wider range of providers and more?
It's your latter. It's a wider range of providers.
Can we have more detail?
I don't see. Is that? Yeah. I mean, would you? Yeah? Well, the committee seems to, that's fine, yes, no problem.
Thank you, Chairman. And in relation to the third question is on page 168, paragraph 124, where it talks about the school plans for the current financial year that we're in being sent to the council by the end of May, and that there would be an update. Will that update form part of a cabinet report going forward? Or
at some point, whether it's May or it be the following.
Sorry, yeah, so it'd be July.
It could be July. So,
yeah.
but it should be in here a bit more detail. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Kernan, sorry. It's a long way there, sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. I have 3 points as well.
Let's go for it.
The first one is on page 150, paragraph 36, where it says that the overspend on the contingency provision for looked after children shows an adverse movement of 5k from month 11 due to increased support required for children placed in council's children's homes, which would otherwise have been required an out-of-borough residential placement. And then it goes on to say the majority of this pressure is a result of continuing increase in the number of high-cost residential placements where children have been placed outside the borough. So it seems a bit contradictory saying that the overspend is due to children being placed in children's homes within the borough, and then it seems to argue that it's outside the borough.
It's sort of council jargon, isn't it?
So
I think it actually does mean the same thing. I think there is a definite cost for outside, and there's a definite cost inside, maybe for relocation from outside back in, and vice versa. I think
could we get some clarification?
Clarity on that.
Brilliant.
The rest of the committee.
Sorry, Chairman, but it says the council children's homes which would otherwise have required an out-of-borough residence placement.
Yeah.
So presumably that means they've stayed in borough, and that's where the increase in costs are.
Then it goes on to mention. Then it goes on again to mention about outer.
Some of the conditions, especially some of the more severe conditions that some of the young people have, might traditionally have been dealt with by going out of borough because of specialisations out of borough that perhaps we don't have. In terms of trying to keep the majority of our looked after cohort within borough, I think what's happening is that those specialist needs are being met, but they're being met within the existing in-borough homes, but we're having to buy in additional expertise, which on the face of it puts the cost up, because that's not an expense that would normally be undertaken by the home. So it's that balance. And I know for a long time we've been trying to make it more possible that our young people stay within borough if we possibly can, and that's the sort of cost of doing that, because sometimes you have to have that additional expertise brought in if it's not available. I know that's one of the things that we've been trying to do, so that might be the answer to that.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. The other couple of points are on page 188. First of all, at the bottom of page 188, sorry, okay. It's our recurring topic. So at the bottom of 188, there's an educational psychologist that seems to have zero approval or £0 approved for an extension to the contract. Does that mean effectively that post is being deleted, or that post will be unfilled?
I thought it was going to be about the money, but obviously I had something prepared for it, but you just thrown me a bit there. Now, what we do, obviously, it's not right for us to talk about employment people and stuff like that, but what I do is I will ask Mark to look into what the situation is. Okay, and then we'll come back next thing. Is everybody happy with that? Yep. Yeah. Okay. And your last question?
Okay, my last one is probably the one you've got prepared,
Yes.
which is, have we got an update on the recruitment or the success of the recruitment process?
I knew you were going to ask this. It could never possibly be because the cameras are here, but you know, we've got the standard response. You ask this on a regular basis, and I give you the same answer. So I'm going to answer it quite fully here, and we're going to note it. And every time you ask it, I will say, refer back to this committee meeting, and I've stated it to you, okay? This is not, forgive me, okay, this is a topic often raised before the committee, and if members feel that it merits a further in-depth review, they should be asking the relevant policy overview committee as is the correct route. However, in terms of the Cabinet decisions on the budget tonight, members will be aware there is a premium of around 18k for using any agency worker, and the market is very competitive. Like all council, Hillingdon is no different by using agency staff to cover essential social workers posts to provide services to all our residents. This is a national issue. However, we have had some good success in Hillingdon recruiting more permanent staff, particularly in the management roles. This has helped to reduce the reliance on more expensive agency staff. Furthermore, through good financial planning, there is a contingency budget amount set aside for these costs, where it cannot be managed within the council budgets. This means that it does not impact a broader council service provided to residents. Also, I will add to this is that a lot of social workers do prefer to be agency. They earn more money, but they don't obviously have the other benefits. They don't want it. We've had the conversation. So I think I've cleared that up. Yeah, so we can go. Councillor Curling.
Yeah, I fully appreciate everything you've said, and I understand where we are. And when we've brought this up before, it's the same thing, and I know the council is working very hard to try and get to a stage where the recruitment process is such that these particular workers want permanent jobs rather than be agency staff. So my question really was how is that progressing? Maybe if it's to go to a policy overview committee. I really do think it's a good idea to you know, get on the box and say, let's have a look at this and see what we're doing. We did review it when I was on corporate services before, and we had quite an in-depth. I think Councillor Bridges, you were on that committee at the time. And we had a quite in-depth, and we had people saying, well, sorry, I prefer, this is the way I like to work. We had a lot of success in the children's social services. I know that. We did a really big campaign, and they seem to have taken that wanted to be more permanent. That's great. I know that we're constantly reviewing. It was reviewed, I can't remember, when was it reviewed? Was it 2016?
There was a general review on recruitment, but I think perhaps an information report might be quite useful to
So I mean, if we could, you could ask the POC to sort of have more of an information report. Councillor Coates.
Yeah. Could I suggest that this committee makes a recommendation that the POC?
Unfortunately, we're not in the position to make recommendations. We're only to review what's before us. So it's one of you fine ladies and gentlemen to put your view and, you know, and get that done. Any more questions on the budget?
Just going back to Mr. Little's.
Riley.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Just going back to Mr. Little's earlier question about recommendation 9. I think that certainly the inference from paragraphs 112 to 118 seems to suggest that it's in relation to pupils with special educational needs across the board rather than individual schools. Because I think if that were the case, then those paragraphs would concentrate on individual schools rather than talking about essentially the whole educational backdrop.
Yeah, Mr. Little.
What I noted from the earlier part of the report is there is a severe problem with the current expenditure on special education needs, but this extra grant relates to capital, which normally an ordinary school wouldn't have very much of in relation to special education needs pupils. It's normally staff issues. And that's why I thought maybe it relates to the special schools who deal with the severely disabled people.
I said I'd ask the question for you. I mean, if
I
other
thought
committee...
that was the answer.
Yeah, I can see where you come from. If the committee feels that has been answered, then we can leave it there. But it's up to you guys, really. Is any? Yeah. Councillor Bridges?
I mean, the question's been put. I'm more than happy for the officers to give their...
Yeah, exactly. Fine. I don't really have an issue. We'll see. I mean, if it takes too long, Mark, then obviously, but it's not going to. So yeah, that's fine. Okay, so I'll move on. Thank you, Mr. Thank you for your time. You're more than welcome to stay. Okay, so we go back. Really, this is item 6 is just a quick one, really, because it's going out for consultation. It's the statement of the gambling policy consultation summary. This report seeks Cabinet to approve an undertake of a 6-week public consultation on the updated draft statement of the gambling policy framework. This policy is deemed as a policy framework under the Council's constitution and is so required to be approved at full council. On page 75 gives the dates on the 20th of June, draft policy to Cabinet, 27th of June, consultation period starts, 11th of July, licence committee, 18th of July, residents, education, environment, social POC, we'll have a look at this, 8th of August, consultation period ends, 26th of September, final policy to Cabinet and post-consultation, and the 21st of November, statement of the gambling policy considered at full council. Has anybody got anything else on this? Nope. Thank you. Okay, now, next one is the dynamic purchasing system for home care and outreach services. Agenda item 7, summary of this report, seeks Cabinet approval to extend the Dynamic Purchase System, DPS, in conjunction with Hillingdon CCG, to call off spot contracts to supply home care and outreach care packages for a further 6 months. Does anybody, there's only one recommendation, is the Cabinet authorise extending the DPS route to the market of the London Borough of Hillingdon for provided 6 months to the 31st of March 2020, and for officers to call off spot contract provisions within the home care and outreach service. Has anybody got anything on this? No? Okay. I will move on. Item 9. Which is the planning obligation quarterly financial monitoring reports. Summary, this report provides financial information on 106s and 278 agreements up to 31st of March 2019 against represented portfolios areas. It is what it is. Yes, Councillor Darling.
Just a couple of issues on this. First of all, just a question on DDA compliancy, because the printing is so small, it's very difficult to read. So that's just the first one. But also, would it be possible to have a similar report for SIL, because the council gets a considerable amount of money through the community infrastructure levy, which is a similar, but we have no sight of where the money is that comes in or where it's allocated.
I mean, we can investigate and see where it is and what it is and whether it's going to come and see what we can do there. I mean, does anybody... Yeah.
We've just seen...
I can see it's a good idea. Let's have a look.
It just seems sensible that we've got...
Yeah, no, I don't...
They're complementary.
So Mark will speak to her planning and see where we are with it. Yeah, because it's quite new, isn't it, recently still, but...